Coming up after our opening segment, Pope Gregory VIII addresses the Catholics about a possible new crusade.
Coming up with our first segment is peasants in Worksham's Manor have recently spotted an unusual sight. Take a look.
Pope Gregory VIII was born about 1105 in Benevento, Italy, and was originally named Alberto de Mora. He took the name Gregory VIII in honor of Pope Gregory VII. He was elected Pope October 21st, 1187, just one day after Pope Urban III died.
Pope Gregory VIII called the Third Crusade by issuing a papal bull, the Audit Tremandi. The Third Crusade, also called the King's Crusade, was called in response to defeat the Crusader Kingdom of Jerusalem at the Battle of Hattin.
Upon hearing the news of the terrible divine judgment with which the hand of the Lord has fallen on the ground in Jerusalem, we and our brothers are confused by so much horror and afflicted by such great pains, not know what else to do with but cry with the psalmist, God, the Gentiles have entered into your inheritance. They have defiled thy holy temple, ruined Jerusalem. They gave the flesh of your saints to the beasts of the earth and to the fowl. As the Saladin, taking advantage of discord, broke out in that land because of the wickedness of men instigated by the devil, it came there with a great deal of men. There was war, and our were routed, lost the Lord's cross, murdered bishops, captured the king, and most of or put to the sword or killed, except a very few Salvatizzi by flight. The Templars and Hospitallers were all beheaded under the eyes of the king. But surely we must, with sincere repentance for what happened to the land, to consider not only the sins of its inhabitants, but also our own and those of the whole Christian people. So do not go too far, as we lost that land remained, and there raging power in other regions. Because of all parts of kings and princes, between town and city we hear discord or scandal, so much to make us cry and say with the prophet, there is no truth, there is no knowledge of God on earth, rampant lies, murder, adultery, and the blood spreading on the blood. So it is necessary in thought and deed to correct us by a voluntary penance, and works by pious convert to the Lord. And before remedying evil we have done, then attack the fierce and vicious enemies, and do not hesitate in any way to make them pro-God what they are not afraid to dare against him.
Sorry, I'd like to correct my statement. It's Hattin, not Hathin.
Daniel Rickshaw live from the Dark Side Dungeon. Today we're going to be talking about medieval torture. But before we start, I must warn you that these scenes are pretty graphic. Viewer discretion advised. Torture was common throughout the Middle Ages. They used a variety of ways. One of these ways was the torture chair, also known as Judas chair. Get over here.
Sorry, I'm not a witch.
The victim was lied down on the spike and bled, and then weights are added just like this. Very painful. Stop whining. Right here, we have the denailing station, where a victim's toenails were pried off, just like this. I'll actually just jab them. We're still not done. Stake we go. Hands up.
Mister.
I do not care about you.
Why? I'm beautiful.
We'll come back to burning at the stake right after the rack. Here is the most infamous, in my opinion, torture device of the medieval ages, the rack. The victim would be strapped down and their limbs would be torn apart from the body. But as of right now, we have made a modification because we just do not have the funds. The victim's feet are being strapped and they will be pulled right off. With our torturer, Mr. Mike Pellinan, you may begin. Look at that feet. Those probably hurt real bad. Look at those gorgeous legs. Those legs are fine, and those were cleanly ripped off, and I love the shade of that blood. So let's carry on to burning at the stake. Burning at the stake is particularly my favorite form of torture, so let's go. I'm gonna set her on fire. Coming up next, actual live footage of the Battle of Hatton, and right after that, interview with Saladin's son.
Stay tuned.
King Guy!
What, Reynolds?
Saladin's army is attacking a city in Siberia.
Oh no, we need to cross the desert, now! Oh, so thirsty. This desert is drying me out. At this! Saladin!
Oh no! King Saladin's
Another army! We have to defend! Many of them. We can't defeat them all. We have to retreat. Come on, Reynolds. To the hills. Oh.
You're coming with me, boy.
No, I'm not. Reynolds, help!
Come with me, boy.
Ah. May I have a drink? Thank you.
Drink and you will never drink again. What would you do if I was in your prison?
I'd cut off your head.
No, don't take him.
No!
No! Don't! Oh my gosh! He's dead! Ah! 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 Hello, it's nice meeting with you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay, so let's get right in. Where were you during the Battle of Hatton?
Well, I was at my father's side, and during the battle, first I saw it with my own eyes. It was a horrible scene, I tell you. It was just flat out bad.
And what did the Frankish king do?
Well, the Frankish king, he retreated to the hills, and he led a pretty furious charge on us, but he was trying to force us against my dad, but it didn't work.
How did your father react to that?
Well, my dad, he was kind of distraught about the whole entire thing being, you know, oh, they're coming at us,
being
but,
attacked.
yeah, well, you know, he kind of stroked his beard and he said, well, let the devil, you know, give his lie.
What did you do when you saw the Franks retreating?
Well, when I saw them retreat, I just went ahead and I cried out for joy that, you know, they're going away, and we've captured them, practically.
What did your father do?
Well, my dad, he's like telling me, nah, just wait a minute, boy, until the tents are down. And as soon as he said that, it went down.
Very riveting story. Okay, anyways, it was nice meeting with you.
Nice meeting
Thank
you
you.
too.
I'd like to talk again and actually meet your father.
Well, actually, you're gonna have to wait after King Richard, but, you know, he hasn't met him yet, so. The Third Crusade was led by Frederick I Barbarossa of Germany, Philip II, Augustus of France, and Richard I, the Lionheart of England. Barbarossa marched overland from Germany, leaving the spring of 1189, but late in the summer Frederick drowned. Philip Richard both traveled by sea, spending the winter of 1190 on Sicily.
When spring came in 1191, Philip sailed straight to Acre to join the siege, while Richard stopped to conquer Cyprus, which gave him a secure base. He arrived at Acre on June 8, 1191, taking control of the siege, and only 4 days later, on July 12, Acre surrendered. Soon after this, Philip returned to France. Meanwhile, Richard took control of the crusading army. Saladin set up an ambush at the Battle of Arsuf, September 7, 1191, but Richard had prepared to plan to deal with this, and when it was put in place, the Turks were routed. The Crusaders wintered at Ascalon, and then they went to Jaffa, where they had another battle.
King Richard!
Yes?
Saladin's attacking Jaffa. We have to go.
We must! Fight!
Ah!
Back off, evildoer Muslim, you are no match to my power! Halt! Stop! I am winning!
Abu!
Victory!
After the battle at Jaffa, both sides were very tired. King Richard I was very sick. Negotiations took place through messengers. Compromises had to be made on both sides, and it was finally agreed that they would last for 3 years. Saladin, Saladin's brother, had to sign for him, and Henry of Champagne signed for Richard, who was too sick. The Christians, they were able to pass safely through Palestine along with the Muslims, also stating that the Christians would hold the coast from Tyre to Jaffa. However, Ascalon's fortifications were to be demolished and the town had to be returned to Saladin. The Christian pilgrims were also granted special rights of travel through Jerusalem.
The Third Crusade failed in the main objective. Jerusalem remained in Muslim hands. Henry VI was soon planning a new crusade set for 1196. Henry died on the very eve of his crusade, and Germany fell into civil war. But the leadership has taken up almost immediately by a new pope, Innocent III.
The Third Crusade also led the acquisition of Cyprus by the Latins. It also gave birth to the Teutonic Knights.
Thank you for watching Medieval Media.
Tune in next time. Can you turn me on?